As we track transformative tech in the enterprise, few shifts are more significant than the rise of AI coworkers or agents running at machine speed. This means a leap in digital headcount and forces every CIO to revisit infrastructure once taken for granted, the network. I'm joined today by Anurag Dhingra, SVP and GM of Enterprise Connectivity and Collaboration at Cisco, to talk through where networks fall short, what AI-ready really means, and how companies can turn connectivity into a competitive edge. Anurag, thanks for being here.
Matt, thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with a big question. Are today's networks ready for this workforce of AI agents, right, that are autonomous and chatty and potentially bringing down these older networks that exist?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Matt. When you think about the workforce today, it is entirely made up of humans. But more and more, we're starting to see this emergence of software agents and even embodied AI with robots and even humanoids in the future joining the workforce. And these software agents, these embodied AI or software AI, is going to do human like work, but at machine speed and scale. So what's going to happen is it's going to feel like the workforce suddenly went through a step function increase, and the 8 billion people on this planet will feel like we are capable of doing work equivalent of 80 billion humans on this planet. And everyone is going to have a number of agents working side by side. So you're going to have human workers and digital workers in the workforce. And when you think about the traffic we are generating today on our network, that's going to go through the roof as a result of this. And so when you take that perspective, I think you have to take a step back and really look at, are you putting in the right infrastructure to be ready for that AI future that we're going to be living in? And I think the answer is no. You have to refresh the infrastructure to be ready to really unlock the gains of what AI is going to produce.
Makes a lot of sense, Anurag. CIOs still treat the network upgrades as a cost center, right? And I think we've seen this conversation in AI, right, where there's this huge promise. Companies are building these prototypes, then it gets to deployment, and then there's these big questions around, okay, what is the ROI?
I think you have to start then asking the question, what will it take to enable the whole organization? I think you need to look at your infrastructure and make sure it's going to be ready to roll out all of these amazing capabilities. And so, if you go one step above the foundational pieces there, then you start thinking about how do you manage these networks? How do you manage all the complexity that comes with human workers and digital workers working side by side? And IT departments, even today, are struggling with an enormous skill shortage. I talk to a lot of customers, and what they tell me is the number one cause of outages is actually human error, misconfigurations. And AI can be a big, big supporter for all of the AI departments to be able to manage all of this without really blowing their budgets, without really having to hire 10 times as many IT professionals, which they're just not going to find. There's a huge shortage there. So I believe the ROI is going to be very clear as a supporting technology. First of all, the infrastructure is an enabler for that, but then AI can also be a tool for IT to manage it all.
Makes sense. Anurag, there's been a lot of questions in the enterprise around where the bottlenecks are, right? You saw some
Right.
huge bottlenecks occur around GPUs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shooting NVIDIA's stock up as a result of kind of the huge demand for that. Then it's moved into data, right? Okay, so we've
Yeah.
got maybe enough compute now. We've got to find enough data to keep scaling these models,
So
right?
very good question. And when people think about network in the context of AI, they're usually thinking about the data center. This is not just about the data center. This is about connectivity in general. What happens to the wireless network? Cost of inferencing is high. A lot of this processing happens in a data center somewhere. But as we talked about, the cost curve is going down. So you'll see smaller language models, you see edge AI, you'll see agents running on my laptop or even on my mobile phone. And so that is where I feel like the network traffic is going to go through the roof. And that is only going to accelerate the adoption of digital workers side by side with human workers. And so you have to pay attention to your regular office environment, your branch, your factory, your retail store, and the connectivity there needs to be upgraded to support all of this.
Let's go from that top kind of higher level view now to specifically what Cisco is delivering at scale. Are you adding special accelerator chips like DPUs, help us, IPUs into your campus switching,
Yeah.
or will your gear stay general purpose?
When you think about the network, you have to think about access, connectivity in aggregate. You can't just look at wired versus wireless, which is why we are refreshing all of these devices. So let me start with the switching part of the portfolio. We are announcing a smart switch, and we made some announcements earlier in the year for our data center switching family. We introduced the Nexus Smart Switch. Now we're bringing the same technology, the same architecture to the campus switches. And the idea is very simple. The idea is that the switch has two personalities. It has a network processor, and this is our own silicon, Cisco Silicon One based ASIC, which is best in the industry, best in class ASIC, is the network processor in the switch. And that's really what is managing all the packets in and out. That's the foundational function of a switch. But then there's a co-processor. And the co-processor sits side by side with the network processor and can take on additional workloads like security. And when I talk about weaving security into the fabric of the network, I truly mean it that that a mini piece of security functionality can run in the switch on this co-processor. Now, these switches go into different places in the network, and so depending on the throughput capabilities, a CPU-based co-processor is good enough for certain scenarios. But you may want a DPU, you may want even want a GPU, and we'll have that option for modularity.
Anurag, let's move to zero trust versus AI spoofed devices. How do you keep zero trust segmentation safe when attackers can mimic legitimate hardware?
Yeah, very good question. I think it requires a sort of a holistic approach here. And our approach to security, especially for the campus and branch network, is a multi-layered approach. So when you look at the core of this layer stack, is how do we build trustworthy systems? We can provide post-quantum crypto-proof, tamper-proof devices. And when you go one layer up, when I talk about connectivity, it's things like IPsec and MACsec and WAN-MACsec. Again, we've had these encrypted channels for a while in the past, but now you can do that with post quantum crypto so that attacks where hackers are looking to store all the communication of today with the hope that in the future a quantum computer will be able to decrypt them, you can thwart those type of attacks as well. And then on the top is where capabilities like segmentation and our universal zero trust network access set. This is a capability where you can define policies in one place and you can push those policies out to every network element. These could be switches that I'm talking about, these could be routers, these could be firewalls in your network. And so the enforcement of the policy is distributed across your infrastructure. And each device has a context that carries across user identity, device identity, machine identity. And with the policy and that context, each device can apply the right type of security policy. And so enforcement becomes truly distributed, but you can manage policy in one.
Let's move to the day to day reality. Is it one dashboard or two? Like, if you've got a bank customer, for example, Anurag, right? Most of their offices are on Catalyst hardware, and maybe a handful of branches are on Meraki right gear. So after these announcements, after these rollouts, can one dashboard show everything, right? The config differences and let admins test changes safely, or roll back automatically if something breaks, or are they going to have to go back and forth between these different properties?
So the new hardware that we're launching, I talked about the smart switch. We are also launching a secure router. These are Cisco devices. They're not Catalyst devices. They're not Meraki devices. And that is very deliberate. That is intentional. We've converged the hardware, so it's unified. You can manage it on-prem, like you used to be able to manage our switches and routers before, but you can also manage them from the cloud. And it's important to offer this choice because we are seeing customers in sort of different states of their journey. Some want to manage things on premise because of regulatory reasons or privacy concerns, or all sorts of other good reasons. And then there are customers who want to consume everything as a service from the cloud. So we are doing a lot of things that are hybrid in nature and help you manage no matter where you're coming from in terms of your current deployment.
I think the industry has, I don't know if it's whitewashed or what the right word is, but kind of swept under the rug, which could potentially, a $1 billion or $100 billion problem, which is these LLMs hallucinate. What problems can this AI system for network admins, does it fix? And how do you stop it from inventing the wrong command or hallucinating something that this admin should do?
Right. Very good question. The agentic assistants that we're building for network management can come up with configuration changes based on what they're observing in the network. But there's a workflow here where a human can review before you deploy this. Now, over time, these systems will probably get good enough where you may want to, for certain changes, short circuit that process. But I think today it is prudent to have human in the loop to review everything that these agents are building. I'll talk about two other things that we're doing. One is this idea of securing these models from hallucinating, putting guardrails around these, testing these models that are powering these assistants for vulnerabilities. And this is where Cisco launched a product earlier in the year called AI Defense. Our customers can buy that product, but we use that product internally as well to secure all of the systems they're building. That's sort of weaved into the DNA of how we build AI products right now. And so we are securing everything that we're putting out there with AI Defense working under the hood there. And then the third piece I'll say is, again, building on the human in the loop, we are actually taking the state of the art forward by introducing a collaborative workflow with a capability we call AI Canvas. And this is the idea where I can, as an individual, obviously use an AI assistant in a conversational model to get work done. But many times when things are complex, you want to collaborate with your coworkers. And typically, what happens today is, let's say I'm troubleshooting a network outage. I'll look at all sorts of charts and graphs and data and run commands. And then if I need to pull in another person, I will take screenshots. I'll put it in a ServiceNow ticket. I'll send them a message and say, hey, can you pick it up? The workflow is very complicated and broken. Now we're building a collaborative canvas where everything that I'm interacting with on the AI assistant, I can pick and choose and drop those charts dynamically generated using generative UI, charts and graphs onto this canvas and invite other people to collaborate with me on this. And so this is how we are going to take a next step forward in agentic ops with humans in the loop and simplifying the workflow to deliver amazing experiences to people.
That's great, Anurag. So I wanted to slip in another question here. How did assure experiences and reliability of service when the network doesn't stop at your door, right? It not only comes in the door and goes to these thousands of devices that are incredibly sophisticated, have an amazing amount of data coming in and out, but then the network goes out and actually is kind of modularized now and maybe leaves Cisco's network. How do you assure that experience moving forward?
Yeah. The first thing I'll say is, Matt, that we think of assurance as a promise. And it's a promise to deliver amazing experiences to people who are connecting to the network. And so when you think about it from that point of view, you build capabilities that are not just about monitoring what's going on, but proactively and predictively taking steps to not have any incidents or any outages to begin with. And so we have, again, a layered approach here. We have rich telemetry coming out of our devices, whether that is the switching domain or routing or wireless. We can stitch all of that together and make sense out of all of the data. But then we layer on that with synthetic tests. And this is where our Thousand Eyes product is a key enabler for us in the platform. Thousand Eyes can run all sorts of different places in your network and outside of the network. You can actually run those on switches and routers and access points. And the reason we call them Thousand Eyes is because they are sprinkled agents across the internet. So they give you the ability of not just looking at what's happening with Cisco gear in your own infrastructure, but across third parties and unknown infrastructure, and pull all of that together and make sense out of all of that data. You're absolutely right. It's not just about Cisco devices, it's about your full end-to-end journey from a user to an application. And Thousand Eyes is the key enabler for us to stitch that together.
Anurag, congratulations on getting out in front of this really important trend. It sounds pretty impressive what you put together, and we're looking forward to following the story.
Thank you so much, Matt.
And thank you for watching. For more stories about the tech revolution, subscribe to our newsletters and check out our other VB and Conversation videos at VentureBeat.com.